got the camera on right?
Yes, I got the cameras on. Sarah's got the cameras on right.
Okay.
Okay, it's 6:30. Let's go ahead and bring the Hillsboro City Commission meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I should bring you a ball topper, Ashley. What do they call it? Is it a final? Is it finial or a final? Is that what that's called? The little ball on top?
I can't remember what. Well, we got the reading of the minutes. Has everybody had a chance to take and review the last commission meeting minutes? And if so, I'd like to get basically a motion to take and accept the minutes as written.
I'll move to approve.
Levi makes the motion. Do I get a second?
I'll second.
Dave makes a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Moving on to the presentation of bills. Has everybody had a chance to take a look and sign all the paperwork for the bills for tonight?
I'll move to approve.
Levi makes a motion to move for the presentation of the bills. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mike seconds. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same. Disconnects for February. Has everybody taken a look at the update? And Ashley's dragging us into the the modern age here of the 21st century, basically by making us use our tablets as we come to the commission meetings. So again, I think everybody's been able to take and find those. Any questions about the disconnects?
I'll move to approve the February disconnects.
Levi makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mike seconds. Any other discussion on the disconnects? All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, same. Disconnects are done. City Commissioners reports. Paul, let's start with you tonight.
Okay, I don't have much, but on the cemetery, I'm looking at doing a little bit of updating on the lot, on the purchase, not the purchase, but so much, but we've had a few questions about cremation and how that works. So I want to look into that a little bit more and see what they'd like to do out there as far as how the ashes can be scattered, where they can be put, and so on and so forth. There's in our rules it says that they can be placed over an existing gravesite, but there's nothing as far as the depth, if they have to be in an urn or anything like that. So I'm just kind of, we're working on kind of updating that too, because they're seeing more and more of that, and they've had some questions. On the HEDC side, HBA, they're HEDC, we're working on updating the HEDC, the Grow Hillsboro website. It's just kind of falling behind a little bit on some of the information, so we're updating a lot of that. So if anybody ever goes and looks at that, if you see something that needs to be changed, we're gonna, I think to end of March here, she's gonna start doing that. So and then I'd handed out, these are just kind of FYI, these Hillsboro Lodging Committee meetings. This is a survey that they had done. Gary Neesman didn't think he could make it in tonight. And so this is just kind of FYI of some of the things they found from a survey they did back here at the end of December, first part of January. And some interesting things in there that one thing that I thought was pretty nice was the sliding hill. because I'd made a comment about that here a long time ago, that we need to have a sliding hill in Hillsboro, in the town of Hillsboro, so there was actually a lot of respondents that wanted that, so, but that's kind of review at your leisure. And like I said, this is from the lodging committee, and this is things that they would be doing or looking at doing. You know, it's not that they are doing it, it's different options you can do. I don't know if you have anything to add on that, Terry?
Yeah, Paul, we were supposed to have a meeting this afternoon, but Paula sent out an email so that we could rank the different responses. And the number one, everybody was able to answer on the committee. Number one, and JR is a part of the committee also, present a 10-year plan draft at joint meeting of lodging and park and rec. Seek feedback and update the plan was the number one. Number two is write website copy and update as detailed in attached next steps. Number three was develop marketing plan to begin actively marketing priorities. And number four was plan, design, and order signage for amenities as detailed in an attachment. So the information off the survey, Paul, was kind of where that drove this plan
results.
that we're coming up with
Mhm.
now.
Sounds good. So that's all good information, and that's a good use for that lodging. Hopefully they can move forward and do more with that. Just an FYI, the HBA is looking at doing, you know, on top of they kind of were included in the Grow Hillsboro website as wanting to be part of that, a tab on there for the HBA side of it. So just so that you're aware that that's kind of what we're looking at doing there, is how we can incorporate that on the HBA side. And it's really important that we be able to kind of easily flow back and forth between the city of Hillsboro and the HEDC one, so that, you know, we're not necessarily always doubling up on everything. It's more that it says that smooth transition from one website to the other, because the Grow Hillsboro website is more for like if you're a new member to Hillsboro and you want some information about things that are going on, or if you are looking at moving to Hillsboro, whether it be a business or an individual person, it'll be a good source for those businesses that might be interested in moving. And we want to keep it up to date as much as we can. We did discuss a little bit on the social media side, but nothing was really, you know, there's some things going on with the social media side, but that's a whole different thing. And on the Grow Hillsboro website page is what we're gonna start out with. I know Levi was at that meeting and JR was there, and so we had representation from the HBA side, the city, economic development. We had a lot of good input. I think it lasted probably, JR, a couple hours by the time we were out of there. So we had a lot of good information there. So from that side, so on the personnel side, as far as I know, everything is going okay. I haven't heard of any problems with anything there. The electric, we're still working on things there as far as what we want to do, planning things for moving ahead. Jim's working on that. And also I talked a little bit to Jim and both Ashley today about, I'm wondering if we could do some kind of a, I don't know what you would really call it, an informational type thing, or have a tab on the page or something that would kind of update the process. What happens when we have our electricity go out? What is Public Works doing? How is it? So we don't have people getting all excited because it's been a half hour and their electricity isn't on. Maybe they don't realize how that all works. And a lot of people come in and say, well, why didn't they turn the generator on? Well, you know, does everybody in this room know why they wouldn't? You know, I'm guessing that not everybody would know how that protocol works. And I think if we could do a little bit of public service of educating our community on how and what is done during an electrical outage, I think that would go a long ways to maybe eliminating some questions at City Hall, or maybe Jim's phone ringing off the hook. Obviously, we have to get some phone calls to isolate where the problem is, but at some point, can we, so we don't have somebody saying, well, gosh, it's been a half hour, why aren't the generators on? Well, there's a reason, and Jim can explain all that, and he said that he'd be willing to kind of give us some bullet points that we could maybe put together for that, and we can put it out there, and that way if they get people that call and don't really understand it, Ashley or Sarah can say, well, you do know we have something on the website that kind of explains the protocol of what we do when we have an outage, what we got to do first, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to kind of work with that as much as we get a chance to do it with, I know Jim and Ashley and everybody's busy, but I just kind of want to work on that, and I hope everybody is okay with that.
I think the new app, the more that we can take and bring that on board too, that now people with the phones, that that app would shoot a lot of that information out too. So I think synchronizing all those different
Yep.
capabilities would be important.
It's just, to me, it's more of an educational thing, what we can do to educate the community on what, you know, Jim just doesn't flip a switch and turn power from here to over there and everything. They gotta find the problem, and people have to, you know, realize that, and they have to be patient. And I know if it's 10 below, you might get a little impatient when your electricity's coming on, but you never know. It could be one of those things that, you know, we were fortunate that they were able to fix it as fast as they could. You know, it could have taken 4 to 6 hours or a day if you can't find the problem. So I just think people need to understand that, you know, that they're not sitting around drinking coffee because the electricity is off, and, you know, they're out trying to find what it is. And I think people need to be aware of the work that they do behind the scenes to get that going. It's just, you know, to find out where the problem is. But I'd like to do something with that, and if anybody has any comment on that, I'll sure take it. If not, well, I'm done. That's all I have.
I would just like to say, I had 2 calls, and they asked me, well, the power's off on our side of town. Well, I didn't have an answer for them. So if I don't have an answer for them,
Right.
you know, that would help us too,
Right.
as commissioners,
Yeah.
to be able to go on. Yeah, that's a great idea.
So,
Yeah.
thank you.
Mike?
I got nothing. We didn't have a planning and zoning last month, so that's all I got.
Dave?
I just want to, again, commend Jim and his crew on, you know, it's been a tough winter, a lot of wind, but been doing a great job. And on that note, I was kind of talking to Jim one day, and they're kind of thinking maybe about possibly replacing their straight plow on their loader. Right now, they've got a loader with that, what's it got, wings on it, Jim? And they've got one with wings, one with a straight plow, and it's kind of hard to control the, when you're pushing snow. So I would like to get permission from the commissioners to have Jim research and get some prices for the next budget season to replace that one plow.
That's a motion then, or an ask, or do we need a motion? Do we need a motion?
I don't think we
I
need a
don't-
motion,
Okay.
we're just
He's
looking.
just
Go ahead and
researching
just
prices.
approve.
Huh?
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, I'll make the motion.
Did we need one?
I'll second.
We have a second, and again, we'll go around. Levi,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
and a yes for me.
And that's all I have.
Jim, I know we'd put in the budget for this budget about a plow truck, so do we wanna look at changing that, or do you wanna still? go-
Well, we've been looking at another haul truck too, and get rid of that old Ford. So, we're still looking,
Cause I think we put 50,000 in the budget, if I remember right.
30,000,
Was it 30? Oh, okay.
yeah. And, I don't know what prices have done, but, we're still looking.
Okay.
So,
So do you want to add the truck into that then, Jim, or
The truck's already
it's,
in there.
yeah.
it's
we're-
in there
we're-
for a replacement?
Yes,
Okay, so we don't have to worry about that.
and we didn't
Okay.
really specify truck, it was, I think we left it open for a haul truck or a plow truck.
I think so.
And we're finding out that, plow Dave's talking about is really an asset to what we're doing. We can almost do more work with that than a plow truck, so, we'll continue to look for a haul truck, I guess, and then look at the plow this summer and get some numbers, so.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Dave?
Nope, that's it.
Levi?
We didn't have a beautification meeting this month because everybody was, schedules are busy. We had a rec district meeting. We were able to hire a new rec district, summer rec district employee. So we're happy about that. And then on the pool, where we're working on getting that lined up to do the small pool this summer, or not this summer, but this spring, once things start going or if we ever get out of winter, I should say. We'll look at working on that. So I've been working with, or talking with Jack to see and what we need to do. But we do have some of the stuff already, so that'll save us some of the money. And that is it besides what is already on the agenda, so.
And nothing really new. The airport is pushing snow and trying to keep the runways and stuff clear. The cold weather's really reduced a lot of the flying out there, and that's all I have. So moving on to Jim, anything from your side?
The only thing I have is an FYI. I got a email from Steve this morning, and he wanted me to let you know that the water main and sewer force main project has been advertised, and that we'll have a bid opening at 2 p.m. on March 15th. That's all I have.
March 15th at 2. Okay.
Jim, that's for the USDA Rural Development
Yep.
Project.
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Jim. John?
Nothing to update from last meeting.
Okay, Ashley?
Jim covered one of mine. It was just about the bid opening, or the bid process. And then, we have a resident that is looking at having a wedding dance at, looking for a wedding dance venue, and she contacted me about the Armory, except for one question she had is why can there not be, if they have a bar that has done a liquor license transfer to the Armory, why is a keg not allowed? Because that could be a deal breaker on whether or not they keep everything in town or take it out of town. And they're trying to keep everything local and keep the bar, the venue, the food. They're trying to keep everything local. So and not having a keg could be a deal breaker for keeping it in town.
Is it something as simple as there's no kegerator at the bars?
This is for the Armory.
I know, but you'd have to have a kegerator, right?
I'm assuming a bar would have stuff for a keg.
So where did the,
In the Armory, it says, if you go online on our thing, on our form, it says no kegs allowed, even if a bar is the one doing the alcohol. And I asked Julie, and she didn't know why. She said it's just always been like that. No kegs are allowed. And so I'm just asking the question.
I think that's been a requirement based on the request of policing. It's too difficult to police the alcohol consumption at the Armory with kegs.
Now, why is that different than like,
Ask the police.
okay.
Well, is the liquor establishment gonna be?
Without a doubt.
Are they asking, so the liquor establishments that's catering it is gonna serve the keg, or are they
Yeah.
just gonna have a keg sitting out there?
No. It would be, that would be the one that they ask. I know that already. She told me that. So it would be them distributing it. It wouldn't be just some random keg, it would be behind
Okay.
the bar.
That was my question, yeah.
Yep, it would be behind the bar, and the bar would be the one distributing it. And I don't see how that's any different than them pouring hard alcohol with pop. I mean, it's easier to get away with, for kids to get away with pop and hard alcohol than it would be keg. You know what keg beer looks like. It looks like beer. Pop can be mixed with anything and still look like pop.
I think it might be worth talking to Steve
Steve?
now
Okay.
to see they might have a different feeling than what Ray used to have on that.
Okay. I will I can reach out to Steve. She asked the question, I didn't have the answer, and I told her I'd ask tonight.
But
It
would-
might not be a good answer, but that is the answer.
I
Will we,
would go ahead and move that if Steve okays it, that we take off that part of the application.
that was my next question. We'd have to change something on our end then.
Okay, you made the motion, Levi. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Dave seconds. Any other discussion?
No, I agree. I don't really understand why there'd be an issue with it. At first when she asked me about it, I thought, well, maybe it's just too messy. People spilling beer all over. I said that would be that's what I would never have once thought about the policing side of it, because, you know, there's so many ways to do that I don't know what difference. It'd be easier to catch a keg beer in a glass than it would be something else, so it'd be interesting to see what that is, but.
Well,
I
on
don't-
the policing side, generally don't they hire outside
Right,
Security?
security?
right,
company? It's
right,
not
so-
necessarily the sheriff's department that is.
Right.
Yeah, they don't
It
do
might
that.
originally been that it was just a standalone keg without a bar.
right.
That might have been what he was trying to
Right.
take and prevent, so.
Oh, and
but
you
if
got-
you have a bar that's got, that's moving their liquor license over, that shouldn't be a
Right,
problem.
right, yeah. And you got, and it's also talks about glass containers. Well, there's pretty obvious reason why you wouldn't want glass for people breaking
Right.
bottles over, you know, so, but this one I wasn't quite sure on, so.
Okay, we had the discussion, so let me start out. Mike,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes,
Levi,
Yes.
and a yes for me.
That's all I have.
Okay, we don't have the sheriff. How did it go with the armory last night? Ashley, you went over and opened it up. Did we have quite a few people over there, or?
Ray just picked me up and I gave him the key from the office and he took me home, so I didn't actually go
there
over
was
there.
4 of them, 4
There's
people.
4?
Four,
Four.
okay.
Okay.
And he did find the key, so yes, they have a key.
My only concern about that is there was nothing as far as the daycare, and it could have been because it was on the weekend, nothing's really secured there, so if Bambi has issues with that, that's something that they might want to address. I don't think there's any issues with it, but everything was wide open. You know, I know they have cameras and everything there, but if that's a concern of hers,
Usually she shuts everything.
and everything was wide open, you could have wandered all over that place. Heck, they had rooms open, and so, you know, and maybe there was nothing going on that weekend, and they were gonna be back Monday, you know. Just,
I think that's their responsibility to do that, because
Right.
we have a lot of different events that go on there, and
Right.
the school uses it off
Mhm.
and on, so.
I'm just saying that if she has concerns, or she's asking why these are in there, you know, she has to be aware of the fact that this can happen anytime, and just because she doesn't have things, you know, in order the way that she might want them, you know, if there's things sticking out that, you know, we can't control that. We're not gonna make people sleep in their cars all night because, you know, they didn't put everything the way they wanted it away, you know, and maybe she's not concerned at all. Maybe she's okay, and it was nothing that I don't think anybody's gonna steal or do anything with, because you do have cameras, you do have names and license plates and everything, you know, so, but,
So the sheriff's department has a key now?
Yes, they have for quite some time, but they couldn't find it, which is fine. I just went up and grabbed the rental key and he brought it back this morning and told me they found their key. So,
Well, thanks for taking care of that.
not a problem.
And the only thing I think that I've ever heard Bambi talk about is the bathrooms. And it might have been a heating issue this weekend with cold weather, or the last couple nights, that having the doors open for circulation, but
sure.
we can take and check in.
I don't
She's
think,
been good
I don't
about
think it's an
letting us
issue,
know.
but what I'm saying is just that she's aware of it, that, you know, if there's something that she's concerned about a room, that she should make sure that that is secured at all times when they're gone, if there's something that she's really concerned about.
Yep, I think she's good about getting back to us.
Good.
Okay? We don't have the city engineer. Moving on to 7.1, 7.2, and 7.3. Mike and Levi, any updates?
I think we're just waiting on those the deadlines and the letters to go through, so.
And
But
ju-
maybe we need to have the conversation, we had Ro and Joe come in a while back, do you want it to come back to the commission again before we move forward, or do you wanna, once the deadline has come forward, do we move forward with that, and do we wanna use Ro and Joe? Obviously, I don't think we do it, like, if the deadline was today, it probably wouldn't happen for a little while, but I just wanna know how we wanna move forward on this. So when it does, if the deadline does come and things don't change, how we want to move forward on the two, 7.1 and 7.2, because those are both have gotten letters.
Commissioners?
Is the bakery, is that in March sometime, the due date is?
Yep.
And just so the citizens know out there, we're talking about the beautification and some of the issues that we have with 3 properties. And, you know, if we have to take and clean them up, Levi found a company that would do that. And we're talking about how, you know, the process would work. So just so the citizens out there know.
In 7.3, I did see they finally did bring their price down a little bit, so hopefully that will, will sell. But like I said, it's just what do you want the next steps when we get there?
So from the legality side, John, all that stuff that's all been taken care of, and we can, and we would be able to bring.
Pass the buck to JR on that one.
JR?
He's been working on,
From the legal side of that, we're to the point where when the time is up, we've got everything in place to where they can, if that company wanted to come in, they'd have every right to do. Okay.
But I think what, Levi, are you asking, do we have to give permission again?
Right, that is my question. I mean, do you want to give permission tonight, so whenever it happens, we're able to move forward, or do you want to, once it's passed, and then have permission on it? That's kind of my question, and, you know, because there will be some money spent, whether we will recoup some of the money, but part of it is that it's going to take a while to get everybody lined up to get things, because it's going to, you know, we're going to have probably waste management lined up, and we'll have to have Roe and Joe, if that's the company we're going with, and we'll have to have the sheriff's department lined up, so all of those things can come on the same day and make it work, so it's not something that we can do right away.
Will we be having a meeting before the deadlines on those again, or not? When are the deadlines due?
One's the 6th, I think.
Well, and it's not necessarily the, you know, if it's this meeting or the next meeting, it's, part of this is new territory, so what
Right.
is what do you guys want to do? That's kind of my question. It's not necessarily that we have to make a decision tonight, but it's, you know, we gotta think about and talk about how we're gonna move forward with this, cause, you know, I will volunteer to spearhead and get this moved through once we get there, and once you get the ordered, that things will happen. I'll line things up, work with everybody, get everything lined up, but I just have to know how you guys wanna handle it.
And I think that we have 5 on the beautification, with Mike and Levi being the lead there. And speaking from my, you know, perspective on the commission is that we're relying on your, what you would recommend when it comes to these properties. And then when we get further down the road, like you're getting close to these 2, that the commission could then go ahead and grant the beautification committee basically the approval, you know, so that you can get things lined up ahead of time, I guess, is kind of what I'm thinking. So, but that's my perspective, and
Well, as long as all the legal hoops are jumped through, I don't have any problem with
The
the way you're.
bakery is due on March 8th.
Do we send out a final notice just to make it clear
That was
that we're
the final
coming in?
That was the letter that was sent, whatever the deadline is, 1 month before that, everybody was served those.
Certified,
Certified or
Okay.
served.
yep.
What's the dates, Ashley?
March
The
8th.
bakery is March 8th. The one by the school didn't get changed, so I don't know what that one was. That one still says December 20th.
Because I don't know what official day it was sent or served, so we might have to find out from the sheriff's department what day it was served.
The bakery wasn't done by
Oh,
sheriff.
so you have the returns? I have those returns, yes, they're in my file. Okay, so JR has the dates on
Okay,
those.
so I don't have the dates on, I don't have the date on the one by the school. And
So-
then,
so you said the bakery is
The
the
8th.
final notice?
The bakery is a little different than the junk ordinance enforcement.
Right.
The junk ordinance is basically, here's your last 30 days that we send, and we have the power to act. The bakery is a condemnation. There still has to be a hearing before the city commission. So basically, the building inspector process is kind of the way to summarize it. Building inspectors viewed it, sent out his notices, gave time to comply. If they don't do anything by beginning of March March here.
March 8th.
Fail the building inspector, now comes before the commission. We once again do notices, you have to personally serve them, as in they actually must be personally served. We set a hearing before the commission, and then there's more hoops to jump through still. But the process is still underway.
Okay.
Well, the next meeting is on
The 6th.
the 6th. And the 8th is the day for the bakery, correct?
The
Yep.
6th or the 7th?
Well, that's
That's
when the
the
next
7th on
set of
here. 7th, I'm
paperwork goes
sorry.
out, right?
Well, the 7th, yeah.
The next one is the next, I have my cheat sheet, but after the deadline has expired, the building inspector files a report upon compliance with the city. The city then gives notice of hearing to all those of property owners and all tenants. Must be sent certified mail and posted on the property. The city holds a hearing. The city makes written findings of fact. The city writes an order. That order has to be served upon the property owner. If there's no appeal, so 30 days after that, then the city can repair, vacate, demolish, whatever the city power.
So what I'm hearing is the second commission meeting in March is the soonest that we can proceed with the next set of paperwork for the chicken scratch.
And
Okay.
that actually would also be for 7.3 also. 7.3 is the Bill
That's
William
on the
Bird
6th.
property.
Yep, and that's due on the 16th, according to the building
Yep.
inspector.
Did you say that's the Bill Bird property?
Yeah.
Yep. But the one over by the school, we can move ahead on.
The one over by the school and the one on 4th Avenue are at 206 4th Avenue Southeast. That'd be the other, those are the two that we can move on. 7.1 and 7.2 would be the two that we could move on once those deadlines are up. Because that was the final notice. Which,
Well, if
we'll have
we-
to get the actual date from JR.
It's the first week of March or so.
If we wait, then we gotta line this guy up, then we're maybe, who knows how busy he is.
And then I'm just asking, I mean, if you're okay with me lining the stuff up, we're not gonna do anything until the dates. But once
Yeah.
the dates are there, then we line
Yeah.
everything up and give you an update of here's when it's gonna happen.
You're looking
So
for a
do we-
motion then to,
Yeah.
I move that we start the process of whatever needs to be lined up to go ahead and deal with 7.1 and 7.2 when the time comes.
I'll second
Nice.
it then.
You
Okay, we have a
second?
motion, we have a second. Any other discussion?
Oh, he did.
Okay.
Dave?
I thought you were gonna say something.
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
And a yes for me.
And I'll do like we did before, everybody will be notified if there's anything movement or anything like that. And the banner will be on it also if there's any movement on it.
Thanks for doing all that, yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
thanks for doing all that
it's not
work.
a-
Levi.
Not necessarily a fun job.
Okay, moving on to the citywide street paving project. And Dave and Jim kind of weigh in with you on this, but we did have the meeting at the county, and the banner did have a good article on the coverage there. We opened up the conversation, so Dave, Jim, I'll let you jump in here.
I guess we really didn't get any answer out of them. I guess we really didn't expect an answer out of them. I think we'll just have to continue to talk to them and see which way they want to go.
So by reading the banner, and my understanding of it is that, or at least what the representative from Hillsboro said, is that he feels that they're already paying, the county's already paying once on it.
Yep, that's.
Because how are we taxing the county on this?
Special assessments.
Special.
So we will special assess the county on it.
Yes.
And
For the, because it's their street or because of their property?
everybody gets assessed.
Because the street is improved in front of their property, so it's a street assessment.
So it'd be in front of their building is what,
Yes.
so any of the county buildings, but part of it was because Caledonia is a main county road that we went to ask, so we're asking for above and beyond that, just so I'm straight.
In prior paving projects, you're exactly right. the request has been made for basically wear and tear on Caledonia as a through street or a farm to market street at one time it was called, and the county government has contributed in addition to paying special assessments. I don't recall the amount of the contribution, but they have contributed.
And Jim did make along with Dave, did make a pretty good argument about 81, how the cement and stuff was shared, that the city didn't cover it all. So we tried to make as good an argument as we could for, trying to collaborate with the county on that. And then the one thing that I didn't dare say is that, Hillsboro is the county seat, and we do get extra traffic and stuff that visits the courthouse, and having good streets to, complement that would be something important. But Jim, anything you want to add?
No, I think you took care of it.
Well, I don't think it's the issue isn't necessarily more traffic to the courthouse or those things. It's more of, it's a county road, so now how much more truck traffic are we, that's what's eating up the street.
And that's what we did talk about.
And we talked about that too, Levi. That, it is designated a county route. And it does have a lot of traffic on it, so.
Because our only other option if they didn't want, not saying that we should go that road, but we could say that no truck traffic or no through trucks on that street.
Well, you could have that thought, but I don't think you'd get very far with it.
Yeah, that's
That's a good thought, Levi.
I'm not saying that we should go,
It'd be like also telling them to go south on the gravel, that's.
Yeah,
you
you
know,
don't want, you don't
And
want
of
that.
course, a lot of the trucks that come from the west, if they're going to Alton, they do use the gravel. It's just, it's the trucks going to Crystal and service trucks coming into town that are using it, but.
Well, and we noticed that the anchor between east and west, that's really generated a lot of our extra traffic the last year and a half, so.
I suppose we could have Steve look at putting a roundabout in at the end of Caledonia.
Don't convolute the conversation yet. What I would like to follow up with,
Did you
though.
get that, Cole? Roundabout?
Well, I think it would be a good idea, because Paul was talking about having a big flag, and a nice big flag would be really nice in the center of a roundabout, so.
And Steve and Tony Ernst can go raise the flag every morning.
What I would like to take and follow up with, since, Dave has done a letter to the editor, we've met with the county, we've had a couple discussions at the commission meeting, knowing that Dave is gonna be gone the first part of March. I wanted to see what the commissioners think about having a town hall next Monday night at 7 o'clock, so that it's after the HEDC, but to get the citizens, give the citizens, I should say, an opportunity to start to have a discussion about what they would prefer. The one downside for the commissioners that, we found out about is that we were waiting on those grants to see what we would be eligible for, and it was a pretty bleak picture that AE2S gave us about us being eligible for any grants. So again, is that going to impact our timeline and those types of things? But I think it'd be nice if we had a town hall meeting here before we get into the nice weather. And I know with Dave being gone, and he has the portfolio, but I'd like to have the opportunity for the citizens to kind of address it, and we can try to get AE2S to come up and present like we did for the county. But I'd like to get the other commissioners' perspective on that. And I would like to have them invited also. I think it'd be good to have all the commissioners that are available, along with Jim.
No, I think you guys should. I won't be here, but you guys will do fine.
I think we should plan a little bit farther out than that to get it out there so everybody can see it.
Well, I kind of agree with that thinking, but I'm thinking we're gonna have multiple ones, Levi, and I don't wanna wait too long to get the initial ones set up, but what do the other commissioners think? We get into the nice weather and people are gonna be busy too, so.
There's also a basketball game that day too.
Is that the last one?
I believe so. It's the last home game.
Damn.
Not a good time.
Not a good time.
I don't think that waiting later on would, I don't think there's gonna be a whole lot getting busier than it is now, but, you know, towards the end of the month and into April you might be, but I would like to be at the meeting, that's one thing, I mean, you guys can handle it, but, having the portfolio, I'd like to be at one of the meetings anyway.
Well, I forgot all about the last basketball game of the season, so that obviously will knock Monday out. What date would you look at is the soonest you could do it, Dave?
Well, I'm back in town on the 15th, so anytime after that, you know. It's not like I got a lot going on right now.
That's a Tuesday. What about the other commissioners?
I'm open, whatever. So,
What do you think, Levi? Would be a good date?
let's wait till Dave.
Get away
gets
from
back.
sports, you're gonna have to move to,
Well, you might be okay on Tuesday yet, but anything after that, you're not gonna make it work.
right,
That's state basketball tournament, so.
is it that week? I would say that Tuesday or Wednesday would be a fine time to do it, if it worked. The other option.
Probably
that-
Tuesday would be better, Wednesday's church. So.
The other option until that date would be also asking for public input, just kind of like DOT does, and say, submit your, to City Hall, so that part of that is then you can look at those ahead of time and have some answers for it already ready-made. That way you'll know some of those.
I think we had talked about that before too, so I think we need to set that up, and however you put it out there on the social media side where you can get responses back ahead of time, I think we should do something with that.
So we are, since I've been here a year and a half, we are sending out, we put together a survey just to see like ask different questions, like how is City Hall doing, what do we need to improve, different things like that, and we're planning on sending that out with the next bills, and maybe we can put a little pamphlet or something in there too, stating, please let us know about your, because we haven't made the pamphlets up yet, so we can still add things to them also, and we could put on there, please let us know if you have any input about the street project. It's just a pamphlet about yay big,
And that would go
both
out
sides.
The
With the
first part,
bills.
April.
Yep, with
Yeah.
the, no, well, we can either do it, we're putting them out this month, like the end of this month with the
Right.
bills, but
Right.
we can do another one, yeah, with the,
Well, the only reason I'm saying that, it would be plenty of time if we didn't meet till what is that, Tuesday, the
15th.
15th? You know, they would have it then.
you're talking about March, right?
For
Because
sure
you said
gonna be
April.
Available.
March.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Not
March.
sure
That's
that
what,
I'm
yeah,
gonna be back
yeah,
on-
so we can put something in
We're gonna
there.
15.
We're
Or
gonna
put
be coming
something
back
on
on
there.
the 15th, but, you know, what our plans are, we should be in town, but I can't, you know,
Should we,
guarantee that I'm in town on the 15th.
Then the next would be probably the 22nd, might be another
And what day is that? A
Tuesday.
Tuesday? Yep.
Yep.
That's fine by me, as far as I know.
That is state youth wrestling also that day,
the
for any
22nd.
parents that, yeah. That's what it said on the thing, on the,
On a Tuesday?
On a
that's what
Tuesday?
it said.
I don't seem right, but.
I don't know, I was just
That's
going off
usually
of,
Thursday,
the
Friday,
schedule.
Saturday, isn't it?
Yeah,
so should we then select the 22nd of March and go with it?
I'll move for the 22nd.
22nd?
And bring
Of March.
birthday cake.
Birthday cake?
You?
Okay, so let's make sure that we talk to the citizens. We'll do the survey, get it on our social media and stuff to try to get the questions, and we'll
I
have the
think
first paving project meeting on the 22nd of March.
maybe be sure, Ashley, that somebody from their engineer, Steve, or somebody is available that night.
Yep.
It's,
What time?
Should we go early or go at 7?
6:30.
6:30 is fine, yep.
6:30.
Here, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
Make sure you call Cole.
Okay, moving on to the,
I have a couple
sorry.
things quick. First would be looking at the survey that Paul gave. Maybe we should look at the number one bullet point in the next 10 years as we're doing this paving project, being that 103 out of 112 applicants want more walking and biking paths. This would be good to see about, if you remember a year ago or so, we talked about putting the paths on the streets and designating that. That'd be an easy addition in with our signage, because our sign improvements aren't too bad, so that might be a way to add
What
that
was
in.
it that you had talked about, Terry, that you guys had kind of put as the top 3 or whatever it
yep,
was?
let me go back
I
here
know.
real quick. The top
That they
4.
voted on.
Well,
The 10-year plan about Parks and Rec and those
Okay.
types of things. We want to put together a 10-year plan, drafted at a joint meeting. And then the next one would fall into too about the websites and updating and detailing those, so.
Right, but I'm looking at the top where it says, that's the only one that really stood out besides the pool, is that walking and biking, 103 of 112 must have been in favor of that, so, by reading it, so does that mean, I'm just saying, if we're doing this project now, it'd be a lot easier to put it in now than trying to do a separate project down the road. And most people don't like biking on the sidewalks, so. Just wondering if we add that in, look at, or at least look at it. See
And then
where-
I think tying it to the pedestrian overpass, however we're gonna do that, is gonna be an important part of that too.
Right, cause what I had talked about before a couple years ago was we just designate those routes and say no parking on that side of the street for those routes, kinda like they do in Fargo and Grand Forks. And it could be just for the summer months, and then in the wintertime, we're not doing that, but.
We'll throw it in there.
Well, and that's something, do we ask Steve to look at putting together for us, an AE2S, to see what a cost estimate would be?
Cause you need signage, street markings, is that
Yeah.
what you're
Right,
looking at?
yep.
And what grant was that, Levi, that you applied for? Was that the
That
to
was,
school?
that was the same one that we're using for the overpass.
Okay.
But it wasn't extremely, it was, I thought we were really gonna look at 200 or 1,000, somewhere around in there for the whole city to do it about. And then the other thing, that if our meeting is on the 22nd, I think we should look at, I did see the other day, there's a couple of projectors in there, but I think we need to spend some money to get, and we can put it in the ceiling tile, get a projector over there, or a TV, whichever, and one over there for the citizens, and one for us to see what's being presented, so that people can see what's going on in here. We did it over there, but if we're staying over here, we probably need to equip this place also, especially if we're gonna have a public forum.
Being kinda like everything that was on our laptops was up on the screen,
Right.
and we can still use that TV, can't we, or?
We could still use that TV, but I think we'd probably have to add,
We actually use that sometimes when we have meetings over there.
so that might not be, but
Just letting you know.
Can you put it on wheels? No, just kidding.
I think TVs nowadays are not that expensive. We could probably get away with one, maybe 2 TVs and have it done, and we'd probably be in it for, I know for sure, less than 1,500. Depending on if you want to do a projector or not, but. And especially if people are gonna start using this more for meetings, that's another amenity that they like, so.
Well, and I think another thing, if you're gonna go paperless, for people that are in the audience, that if you can pop something up on the screen, that they can see what you're talking about, it would be,
Right,
you know,
and it
be
worked well
beneficial.
when we had it over there, it's just when we moved over here, we didn't, so.
Okay, should we get a motion then and settle on 2 front and back and the accessories that we need for that? Or do we want
Can
to
we
discuss
just,
it
can
some
you
more?
just get a estimate on it and talk to what would work best and let us know, or?
I probably could. I'm just worried about time-wise, getting everything lined up, get somebody to do it.
Mhm.
Do you wanna do it by the 22nd? Is that what you're saying?
That's my thought, is have it done by the 20. Like I said, I think I could, pretty sure I could do it for 1,500 or less to get it in. Especially with the equipment and I'm sure I could get couple public works guys if I had to put stuff up. But I can get everything, I know I could do it for less than 1,500, just.
How long
for-
would it take you to get some kind of a quote for us?
Oh, I could probably put it together if I have time this week, so if I,
I think we should just do it and be done with it.
Just
I
do
think
it.
I think it's something that,
Just put a limit,
it's
a
just-
cap on it, I think,
well,
too, but
you know, if
I'm
it,
trying to figure out how, what do we need to do to interface with the computers?
so there's different ways to do it.
You
Whether
can
we
do
do
it
a
remote,
cord or
yeah.
whether we do, but, you know what? Most of it is the wiring aspect of getting it stuck to the TV. So, you know, and where we're gonna hook up at, that's, the hookup will be your most expense. It's, the TVs itself is not going to be the biggest. You can get a TV, I mean, nowadays for $500, so.
You talking 70-inch is kind of so that we can see everything? It's kind of the idea that you have a big one?
I'm thinking a bigger one, whether we put a bigger one up there and then one, basically one so that we can see what's being presented, plus, you know, maybe a bigger one here and a smaller one back there, something to that effect. Or if you did a projector up here, that we could use the whole wall also. So, you know, there's options that we can do. And I did, like I said, I don't know if they work or not, but there is 2 projectors over in City Hall, so they were in the back room when I went and looked at that tripod. So,
I think if we want this by the 22nd, I think we just better get going on it. And, you know, you use, you know, if it comes back and you're finding, well, this is gonna cost $3-4 grand, well, then obviously we'd wanna.
right,
Yeah,
and
we
if it
probably
comes to
check
that,
back,
I'd
so,
come
yeah.
back to, at
But
our
if
next
it's-
meeting on
If it's
the,
something like you're talking in that $1,500 range, I think it's, you know, it's an expense, but I think from sitting out there for a few meetings, it's nice to have whatever you guys are seeing so they can see some of it. And then if we're doing the street project, there's gonna be a lot of information that you're gonna have out and you can put it up that way. And if there's some way to incorporate that even into one of the cameras, you know, that might be on the crowd, maybe flip that to the camera so that comes on the screen or something that they can,
right, and I'm
or on us or something, so the people at home can see what we're looking at too. I think that's invaluable to them.
right, and I'll talk with,
Need a motion for that?
Yep, a motion for,
and on how much.
two for
much you want?
$1,500.
15, I think would be
I'll
fine.
make a motion to spend up to 15.
On 2.
I'll second it.
We have a second. Any other discussion? Paul?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes,
Any yes for me?
Are you gonna be working with Halsted on any of this, or?
I'll talk with Halsted to make sure that we can tie it into there.
Sounds wonderful.
And I'll probably work with, Garth up at the school a little bit too to help with. So.
Okay, moving on to building permit process. Mike, I don't think you've had a meeting yet,
No,
have you?
No.
Okay, we'll move on to building incentives for the Riverwalk development.
Haven't had a chance to look at it.
So what do you think? Do you want to do anything or not do anything? John, can we do anything?
Well, I think that depends on what's being looked at, you know, for some of our residential lots. We've had some incentives that involved Hillsboro dollars. You know, if you're looking at bigger money,
is that something that's set by the state, or is that something?
Yeah, I was wondering
Well,
about the legislative session.
If you're, yeah, if you're
Yeah.
talking about, you know, a certain amount of money, not to exceed a certain amount of money being free of, the tax for a period of years, yeah, that is statutory, meaning set by the state. And, I don't think that's been changed for some time. That doesn't mean it won't be changed in the future, but
I know they talked about it at the last biennium, but I can't remember if they raised it or not. Because I got a query from Trail County EDC, and going from 150 to 250, does that sound right? They were talking about raising it.
Would they not get the same incentives that's everybody else that builds on this side of town, or?
Yeah, for a new home,
But this
That's-
would raise it for anybody, the
Yeah.
whole city.
yeah.
And that's, is that still the first 75,000?
Yeah. For
Can
two-
we check and find out what the legislature came up with this last, for
Yeah.
this biennium?
Maybe we're barking up a tree we shouldn't be, cause we can't do anything, but,
Well, I think if it's available to us, then we get get to make the decision, you know. And again, instead of raising it from, I think what we're talking about is raising it from 75 to a higher amount, whatever the state had come up with, right?
mhm.
So let's table this one more time. And John or JR, can you find out what that amount is that the state legislature has set? And then we'll come back and we'll talk about that. Okay, moving on to the KVLY advertising. Continue the discussion. So commissioners, what did you think?
I think this is something that if the HEDC is interested in doing anything with it, I think it should be handed off to them. If they're interested in doing something, you know, that's up to them. I don't think that's really, you know, we're trying to let them kind of do a lot of the more of the marketing side of it and things like that. I think we should hand it off to them. If they're interested in it or feel there's a benefit to it, I think it would be better in their hands, and then we don't have to really step on their toes, and they would have a better idea of if it's good or not. If it's a good, you know, between the board members on HEDC and Trail County's representation on that, I think they can say, hey, we've done this before and it's not been worth it, or they can say, yeah, this is a good idea, or maybe pick out pieces they might want to do. But I really think we should, and Ashley might add, but because she was at the advertising part of it, but I really think it's something for them. I don't think it's something that we should be at this time, and we should give them the opportunity to, you know, they're better versed on what's working in the marketing area than I am.
And I mentioned to Ashley too that I thought HTC and some of the advertising that we do on the live streaming has really been quite beneficial for the city. And I think that again, their presence within the Red River Valley, even going further north in the valley, is starting to expand. So I'm pretty happy with what Ashley's been doing with the dollars for on the HTC streaming live types of events, that we get a lot of good coverage that way. But I know that Ashley had mentioned that it might be worthwhile to see about doing a one-time deal with the television station, just to kind of give a state of the city of Hillsboro type of an update. But and I also want to compliment Cole with the banner. He gives us good coverage too, so I'd like to keep it local.
I totally agree with Paul. I thought about that too, and I think they're in the business of handling that stuff, and we've got enough stuff on our plates to do. So that's my opinion.
Turn it over to the HEDC.
Yep.
Levi, any input?
I agree with.
So Gary, if you're watching, it's in your hands.
Okay, moving on to the North Dakota Community Foundation updates. Levi?
So I did reach out to Tony and Peggy, we were gonna try to line up something last week, but it didn't work out, and they're out of town, they were out of town, so. They are receptive to it, it's just a matter of sitting down with them and getting a time to sit down with them, so.
Okay, moving on to the Lowry Riverwalk documents, signatures required. What do we need, Ashley?
So those are just documents. John, did you get a chance to look at them? There was one that you had in question, was that one about releasing Celine Brothers?
Well, I think that Steve's point was, had I looked at the documents and were the bond amounts acceptable, and the answer to that was yes. But, you know, Steve did raise the issue of the lift station being run and the warranty starting. And then I think there were a couple of comments too about the time frame of the contracts with, you know, Steve not wanting the paving to start too soon in the spring, to have problems with the quality of the concrete or paving, and then I think, you know, he was questioning whether the short time after the contractor was done that someone could get the seating done. So that, from a legal point of view, I think we're good.
Do we want to take and do the motion for the signatures with the caveats, John, that you just talked about?
Run that one by me again, please.
Do you want us to get a motion for the signature, approval of the signature for the Riverwalk with the caveats that you just mentioned? Kind of an
On
addendum?
the time frame, yeah. I
Okay.
think that's a good plan.
Okay. Commissioners, do you think that's,
What are we specifically looking at here now, Ashley, on here? It's on our files here, or?
Celine Brothers, they were supposed to finish the work in the spring. They asked to be let out of the contract early, and Lowry agreed, and so now we need to sign off saying, yes, it's okay that Celine Brothers, we let them out of the contract. And then there's also signatures that are required, and I got the bond and insurance information for these companies as well, to have F&S Concrete come in and finish the paving instead of having Celine do it, and then also Greenway to do the
Landscaping.
seating.
yeah.
My question would be, we're signing off to let Slane Brothers, who had the full contract, is there, and maybe I'm not seeing the whole thing.
You want hard copies, Levi?
No, I see the Greenway contract, so does that include the bond and everything that Slane Brothers was supposed to do is now transferred over to Greenway and the other one,
F&S, yes.
F&S?
Yeah, I think there was a bit of a reduction by a change order in terms of what was going to be done. So it might not be exactly apples to apples, but everything that needs to be done is covered by the two new contracts.
Correct.
It wasn't a significant change order either. I might have that here. I
It's
think
right
it was
here.
like
It's
20-some thousand. But that's just a
20
reduction in what was gonna be done.
$24,198.52.
So that just means they're doing less work on something.
Yes.
Is the Greenway also putting in the trees that are sitting out there?
I think so, right?
And that's Green Earth anyway. if that-
Green Earth, sorry.
Yeah, I'm not sure what led to the change here, except Celine wanted out, and John Lowry and company were able to find people that would do the work according to John's time frame and at the same price that was contracted by Saline Brothers. I'm not privy to more details than that.
But looking at it, they're saying they're supposed to be done by July 1st, or June 1st.
I think that's what their goal date is, yeah.
That's just for the paving side, or are the other ones is paving?
Yep, that June 1 deadline is with F&S Concrete Paving. And I think that was Steve's point, was that that might be a little early in the year to expect that the paving would be done, but maybe we'll have a good season. And then the next question he had was, well, is 2 weeks sufficient then to get the landscaping done? And, you know, that's an engineering thing more than it is a city of Hillsboro question.
Well, who came up with the dates? The concrete people and the?
John Lowry and the contractors.
I assume that's just a guess, because if it's a real wet spring, they aren't gonna be doing either one, so.
Correct.
Do we need to get the date changed?
They'll probably just ask for an extension, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I didn't see any further concern expressed on Steve's part as to the dates. So I think that we're good as is, and if we have a nasty spring, we're gonna be doing the change anyway, because it won't be possible to get the work done.
Yeah.
They'll just send out a change order.
So John, and is Lowry still gonna be monitoring these two projects?
Yes.
Yes.
And if so, they should be on site, and if there is a problem, they should be saying, no, it's too cold, you can't be pouring concrete.
Yes.
Yeah, okay,
Especially for the paving.
yeah, as long as they're there watching things, and, you know.
But the other thing is the lift station that hasn't been turned on yet, correct?
It has been run. We did a startup on it,
Okay. So everything is fine with that.
yes.
So that issue is taken care of, it's just the dates wise.
And this will take care of the soil, making sure the compaction and stuff is good where we trenched?
Trenched.
Or like the rural water and all that stuff? Making sure it's settled good and was packed down since it was done late?
Yes.
Okay.
Does our engineer have anything to do with it as far as verifying or not?
Just on a need-to-know basis, if there's questions that we have, or, and there's correspondence with them, so they're aware of what's going on, and that's where Steve's input came
So,
from.
yeah, so it's Steve, so it's somebody, a third party kind of is
Yeah.
making sure that the first
Right.
one
And
they're
that's what
doing
we've
it.
asked them to do, so,
So,
I don't know.
Any other questions?
I would move that we sign the paperwork if we get the okay from Steve Swanson.
With the caveats that John talked about.
As long as Steve sends an email to Ashley saying that everything is okay, then you are authorized to sign them. Or whoever.
Okay,
I'll second it.
we got a second. Any other discussion? Levi?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Paul?
yes,
And a yes for me. Okay. USDA Bond Council Legal Service Agreement signatures required. Interim financing. Ashley?
I was hoping John would take
Oh,
it.
I'll cover that real quick.
Okay.
Like,
Sorry, John.
there's one document that USDA wants signed and USDA was kind enough to let us go ahead, or let Steve go ahead and advertise for the bids without having the city approving John Shockley's bond agreement with the city of Hillsboro. In other words, he signed it. Now we have the agreement, so we can sign it, and what we're doing then is complying with the punch list that Carrie at USDA had for us. That should have been signed earlier, but she said go ahead as long as Shockley had committed on the bond council agreement, why we could go ahead and advertise. So this is tidying up what could have been done earlier, and we just didn't have the agreement to get it done earlier.
I'll move to sign the USDA bond council agreement.
Levi makes a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Dave seconds. Any other discussion? Paul?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
And a yes for me. JR, you're the only citizen out there, so I assume you're not gonna ask any questions?
JR, if you're the only one next time, take the mic over there, okay? Because
And,
people couldn't hear what you were saying, and they know you're full of a wealth of information, and they want to hear you.
Oh, and Bambi texted me. I didn't get it because I didn't feel it in my pocket, but she said it is usually locked up. She's not sure why it wasn't, but it should be locked up every night.
On the inside.
On, yeah, the daycare part,
Yeah.
that should all be locked up. She's not sure. Okay, she's not sure why it wasn't.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Dave makes a
Second.
motion and Mike
Second.
seconds. We're adjourned.
We gotta shut those things off too? Is
Right.
that what you do? Shut them off?
Yes, I never shut mine off.